Did you know that even though Black Americans make up nearly 15% of the U.S. population, there are states where the Black population is essentially non-existent? The growth has been tremendous. Since 1980, the Black immigrant population has increased five-fold. Yet despite this growth, there are still states where Black representation remains remarkably low. Today, we're counting down the top 10 states with the smallest Black populations. Number 10, New Mexico. Starting off at number 10, we have New Mexico, where only 3.22% of the population identifies as Black. New Mexico has a unique demographic composition deeply influenced by Native American and Hispanic cultures. It's one of the few states where Hispanic and Latino populations make up nearly half of the total population. This blend of indigenous and Latino heritage is reflected in the state's art, food, and customs, contributing to a cultural landscape where other demographic groups, including Black communities, are smaller in number. Number 9, Oregon. Oregon's Black population is close to New Mexico, coming in at 3.17%, but for much different reasons. Oregon's history of diversity is complicated and shaped by exclusionary laws that, in the 19th century, actively discouraged Black residents from settling. Although those laws no longer exist, their impact has left a lasting legacy. Today, Oregon is known for its progressive culture, but in terms of diversity, Black representation remains relatively low. Number 8, South Dakota. Coming in at number 8, South Dakota has a Black population of only 3.06%. This state is perhaps better known for its significant Native American population, particularly from the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota Sioux tribes, who have a strong cultural presence in the region. With expansive prairies, limited urban centers, and a rugged rural lifestyle, South Dakota's demographics lean heavily toward communities that have long histories in the area. The small Black community here tends to be concentrated in urban areas like Sioux Falls and Rapid City, where job opportunities and educational institutions attract more diversity. Number 7, New Hampshire. New Hampshire is one of the whitest states in the nation. Known for its strong New England heritage, it has a Black population of just 2.47%. Many residents have roots tracing back to early European settlers, and the Black community here remains small, even as the state's total population grows. Many Black residents here are left with a choice: adapt to an isolating environment or relocate to regions with more cultural representation and inclusivity. For those who stay, it can mean navigating a society where they are often one of the few Black faces in their communities, schools, or workplaces. Number 6. Known for its rocky coastline, fishing villages, and large forests, Maine has historically been one of the whitest states in the U.S., with its Black population coming in at 2.33%. While its demographics are slowly shifting with an influx of immigrants, particularly from African nations such as Somalia and the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Black population is still small. Maine's primary industries, like fishing, forestry, and tourism, have not historically attracted a highly diverse workforce, which has contributed to its low Black representation. Number 5, Vermont. Known for its beautiful rural landscapes, covered bridges, and small-town feel, Vermont has always had a small population, and its Black community remains minimal at just 2.12%. Many people here have roots going back generations, especially those of European descent, which has created a homogeneous cultural landscape that can feel insular to newcomers. The state has a reputation for being quiet and somewhat isolated, which has contributed to its slower pace of demographic change and limited diversity. Although Vermont has seen a small increase in diversity in recent years, largely in its college towns, the Black population remains one of the smallest in the nation. For Black residents, this isolation can mean navigating a social and professional landscape where they rarely see themselves reflected, leading to a sense of invisibility. Number 4. Utah. Coming in at number 4 is Utah, where just 1.94% of the population identifies as Black. Utah is known for its unique landscape, from its dramatic red rock formations to the Great Salt Lake, and for being a center of the Mormon faith, which influences much of the local culture. The state's history of settlement and religious influence has played a role in shaping its demographics, with Mormonism historically placing emphasis on a white community. Historically, Utah's black population has been small, partly due to its geographical location and limited appeal during migration periods, as well as the state's policies of exclusion and racism in its early history. The state's early leaders, including the founder, were opposed to black residents, and it wasn't until the latter half of the 20th century that Utah began to see an increase in diversity. This historical context continues to affect Utah's black population today, where racial disparities in education, employment, and representation persist. Number 3. Wyoming. Wyoming is America's least populous state, and its black population is extremely low, coming in at 1.66%. This state's wide open spaces, national parks, and ranching lifestyle make it very rural. This rural setting means fewer economic hubs, which is one factor that has led to a smaller black population, as people often relocate to larger urban centers for work. The black community in Wyoming is primarily concentrated in areas like Cheyenne, which has a military base that brings in people from various backgrounds. Number 2. Idaho. Our runner-up, Idaho, has a black population of only 1.26%. Known for its stunning mountains, rivers, and forests, Idaho is a state that attracts those seeking natural beauty and outdoor adventure. Recently, Idaho has experienced a population boom, with many people relocating from nearby states, drawn by the promise of affordable living and scenic landscapes. However, despite this growth, the state's racial demographics have remained largely unchanged. The influx of people has not led to any significant diversification, and Idaho continues to be predominantly white. Idaho's geography and rural lifestyle have historically attracted a specific type of resident, those looking for a quieter, more isolated life, often in small towns or expansive rural areas. These areas with limited urban centers have little to no infrastructure to support or attract a racially diverse population. Even as the state experiences growth in population, black residents remain a small minority, with few opportunities for cultural integration or support networks. In many parts of Idaho, black residents report feeling isolated, both socially and professionally, with limited access to communities or institutions that reflect their culture and history. The lack of racial diversity in Idaho is also tied to its economic structure, which has traditionally been based on agriculture, logging, and mining, industries that have not been as diverse as those in larger metropolitan areas. Number 1. Montana. Finally, at number 1 we have Montana, with just 1.03% of the population being black. Known for its vast wilderness, national parks, and cowboy culture, Montana is not only one of the least diverse states but also one of the least densely populated. The black population in Montana is extremely small, with most black residents living in urban areas like Billings and Great Falls. Black residents in Montana frequently report feeling socially and culturally isolated, with fewer opportunities to connect with other black people or to engage in cultural events and spaces that celebrate black history and identity. Additionally, many face implicit biases and stereotypes, as well as occasional overt discrimination in areas where black presence is rare. So there you have it, the top 10 states with the smallest black population. Did any of these states surprise you? It sure surprised us that there are states with close to just 1% of their population being black when we were making this video. Please let us know your thoughts on these numbers in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.